In order to have a true wealth effect, in other words, you have wealth created through some rising asset prices, your house, your stock portfolio, whatever it happens to be. You have to have two things. You have to have two things happen. You have to have new wealth being created, and it has to be permanent. What is new wealth being created? If you had a stock portfolio, say 5 years ago tomorrow, which was the all-time high in the stock market, October 11th, 2007, you had $100,000 in the market 5 years ago tomorrow. By March of 2009, that was worth, and I'll keep the example simple, $50,000. You lost half your money because the market was down 50%. Today, it's worth $92,000. Bernanke would say, hey, you just made $42,000. How are you going to spend that money? And you'll answer him, no, I'm still $8,000 in the hole, because you've anchored yourself to the all-time high. And I haven't even considered the fall in home prices in terms of the larger thing about wealth. So there has been no wealth created. There's been loss reduction that has been created. And nobody spends wealth reduction. They spend wealth. The second part of that is there needs to be a sense of permanence to wealth creation. When it goes up, think of home prices 2005 and back. It's up. It's not going back down. So let's take out a home equity loan and go buy an SUV or a big screen TV or whatever it was we were buying back 6-7 years ago. There's no belief in the permanence of the rise in the market. David had a chart very similar to this. This one includes ETF flows. It shows the blue line shows the flows into domestic mutual funds, record outflows. The red line shows international mutual funds approaching zero right now. If the public is going to have a wealth effect like Bernanke wants, hopes, thinks, then they should have the confidence to actually be putting money in the stock market, not record outflows out of domestic funds. Now, part of what's happening with the stock market, I think, and you can actually look at the next chart, and that just shows a weekly number. And the weekly number, if you look at the second bar in green, which is domestic, it's 2 weeks ago, it's still outflows. There still hasn't been any inflows. Nothing has changed yet since the faithful QE3 decision. And so this is the problem that we have. We are not creating wealth, we're creating loss reduction. And in a lot of ways, this policy is going to produce the worst possible outcome for the Federal Reserve. It's going to make rich people rich. I own stocks, thank you, Ben. But my cleaning lady doesn't own stocks, and her husband who works construction has been unemployed for 2 years, and that the rise of my stock portfolio and everybody else's stock portfolio is not going to get her husband any closer to getting a job than he has been without it. And so it's going to make rich people richer. It's not going to do anything for poor people. It's not going to create GDP growth. It's not going to create jobs. It might, at the margin, create a perception of higher inflation and higher gasoline prices. So rich people get rich and poor people pay higher gas prices. Although, to be fair about with gas prices, there's a lot of other factors. The Arab Spring